Hi, this is Carol C.C. Miller, your positivity trainer, peace activator, and global free hugger. And today I have with me Loretta Adkins, and she is one of my favorite people in the world. I actually met her back in 2009 when we both were traveling on a positive law of attraction journey with Mike Dooley. And ever since then, we have visited each other. She's traveled a lot more than I have, but I'm really looking forward to joining her as that we started this Embrace the World tour, where each year we're going to go to someplace new and share some hugs, share some laughter, share some experiences with people in the community that we go to, along with the people who are joining us. So Loretta, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Well, Carol, hi, how are you? I hope
great.
You're not too cold up there in Chicago.
Show off Key Wester you.
Yeah, I do have to say I am a little bit of a fair weather traveler and or resident. But as Carol mentioned, my name is Loretta Adkins, and I have a company called Clean Getaway Travel. I met Carol on our Law of Attraction cruise, and I had just started my company. I was really interested in kind of a mission of global happiness distribution and just traveling the world as a good representative of America and as of the human race, and bringing love and kindness with me when I went, and making friends around the world. For me, it's about making connections. And when Carol and I met on the cruise, we made a lot of great friends, and it really gave me the push I needed to get my company off the ground. 2 years later, almost to the day, I had my first group in Rome, which was amazing. And since then, every year I've been doing 1 or 2 international trips with a group and several on my own. And I just really love sharing my passion for travel and my joy, my joie de vivre of the people around the world with all my travelers. And so far, it's been working out great. This particular endeavor that Carol and I have embarked on came about when she kind of lured me into her, well, you know you did.
I'm sure I did.
Into her Global Free Hugs mission on the cruise. And since then, I have been hugging every year on Global Free Hugs Day down here in Key West, Florida at the southernmost point. Maybe you've seen us in Carol's videos. It's a kind of a recognizable monument, and I have a team I call the Southernmost Huggers, and everything down here is southernmost. So we have been doing that, and I have met people hugging in Key West from around the world, which I've incorporated into my travels. I shared a story with Carol the other day about a gal from Morocco I met who lives in Paris, who I met when I went to Paris last year, and her son was just here on Saturday. So it's a small world, made even smaller when you have an open heart and you're willing to extend that out into the world. So
I love that, Loretta. I don't know why I didn't even bring that up, that was one of our big connections, is that you've been doing the global hugs with us. I mean, you've only missed one since you started in 2009. So,
and that was the year that I was deathly ill. But anyway, I came back better than ever, and so yeah, I love that, and I love the whole idea. Carol and I have been talking for a while of how we could get together and do something where we could bring that that positivity and that loving kindness and that the hugging thing around the world with us on our trips. So we came up with Embrace the World tours, and Carol had a great idea of let's go hug in different places, and we'll bring our free hug signs, and in the meantime have an awesome vacation and meet some kindred spirits along the way. So
absolutely. And I think what's also important is for the people who do come with us, that if they're not comfortable hugging, they don't have to. And Loretta is just a hugger extraordinaire. So there's nothing that is beyond her ability. When I started doing free hugs, I was terrified. So I did not even have an idea of how much I would love it until I stepped out of my comfort zone. So I completely understand that there's going to be people who it's uncomfortable with always, and those people who are more like me that once they experience it, they're going to love it. But you dove right in. I did not have to do a whole lot of convincing to get you to join the hug team.
No, I've always been a hugger.
Yeah.
But, that brings up an interesting point, because on the trip, I've been working with a friend of mine who's a yoga instructor for the past few years with a lot of success as far as traveling the world once a year doing a yoga trip. And a lot of times we'll have people that will come on the trips, say, bring their husbands or their spouses who don't do yoga, or people who are friends of people who want to come on the trip and have no interest in yoga. And it's going to be the same with hugs. Yoga's optional, hugging's optional. If it's an exciting destination or a trip that you want to come on and you want to maybe try out the hugging, great. And if you don't, no big deal. You'll still be on an amazing adventure with a lot of positive people.
Exactly.
I'm going to hug you, probably.
Oh, I am quite, unless you tell her not to hug you, she's going to hug you. So, as I will as well. And there will also be, like, I'm a positivity trainer. So just focusing on the goodness that we see and focusing on the goodness in the world is another reason that we wanted to create these trips. So Loretta, I'm going to turn it over to you to describe our first adventure, because you've been there before and I'm already thinking I may just move there and not come back. So if you share a little bit about Croatia and what we'll be doing.
Well, I can tell you, Carol, that when I had some travelers that had been asking me about Croatia, and I can't lie about it, I really was not that knowledgeable about Croatia. I knew that it was one of the countries that was part of the old Yugoslavia. And when I heard Yugoslavia, I thought, Yugoslavia, Iron Curtain. And it's not like that at all. Croatia is one of the 6 countries that that gained their independence when Yugoslavia dissolved away from the Soviet Union. And in my opinion, Croatia got the best part of the deal, because they are a Mediterranean country that come down along the Adriatic Sea, which is the northeastern arm of the Mediterranean Sea. They're directly across from Italy. There are ferries that go from Italy to Croatia. And Croatia has some beautiful mountains and some amazing coastline. There are lots of little islands that what we're going to be doing on our trip is we're going to be starting inland in the capital of Zagreb, which is also referred to as Little Vienna, because it was at one point under the rule of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and it has a lot of similarities, architecturally speaking, and cafe culture-wise, with the grand capital of Vienna, Austria. There's lots of little coffee shops, coffee houses, really. And when I say little, I mean some of these are like beautiful chandeliers. They take their coffee very seriously in Zagreb. And we're going to spend a few days there learning a little bit about Croatia, relaxing, eating some good food, and touring Zagreb and learning about how they gained their independence and different things like that. And then we're going to take a bus and we're going to head down to the coast. But on the way, we're going to stop at a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which is Plitvice Waterfall Park. And everybody, I should start by saying, I should backtrack a minute and say that last year I took a group to Croatia on this very same itinerary. This is the first time I've ever repeated a trip, and I'm doing it because I fell in love with the country of Croatia. When we had the group in the Plitvice Waterfall Park, the colors of the waterfalls, you spend a few hours walking through this myriad of just walkways where there's these beautiful aqua blue green waterfalls, and time stands still. I mean, the next thing you know, it's time to leave and you're like, what happened? Croatia is such a country of amazing natural beauty, which is why it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, this waterfall park. Then we go down to the coast, and that's when it really gets pretty. We hop on a boat for 7 days. It's a small ship. It's around a 40-passenger ship. We've got our own crew, our own cook, and it's just an amazing experience of meeting other travelers, bonding, and here's a typical day on board. Let me just give you a typical day and why my travelers all told me at the end that this was the best vacation that they had ever been on. You get up in the morning, you have some breakfast, you sail along the Adriatic Sea for an hour or two, read a book, take a swim, get back on board, have lunch, motor down the coast into a beautiful historic port where we have another, say, tour of Hvar or Korčula, where Marco Polo was from, eat some homemade macaroni, do some whitewater rafting or zip lining, maybe sea kayaking. Maybe you're a Game of Thrones fan. We're going to be touring Dubrovnik, where also maybe you're a Star Wars fan. I believe that was filmed there as well. So Croatia My theme for the country of Croatia, right after I got there, about a day or two into it, was surprises around every corner, because I just couldn't believe that there was a country that not that many people knew about that was so incredibly amazing. There are a cappella groups singing in squares of men, like ranging in age from 15 to 85, just singing together, raising their voices. It's just such an amazing place. And whatever I tell you, however I describe it, it's not going to do it justice. The food is great. The people are friendly. The scenery is one of the most beautiful places I've ever been to. And every single person that was on that trip was really experienced the same kind of awe-inspiring feeling towards Croatia that I did. So that's why I'm so excited to be able to offer it to you, Carol, and to go out there. And they have squares over there that are just made for hugging.
Excellent. I remember when you first sent me the itinerary, and I was already excited, but somehow I overlooked that we would be on a small ship for a few days. So I'm just looking at everything. I'm like, oh, this is so much fun. This is so much fun. This is so much fun. And then like 2 days later, I'm like, oh my God, Loretta, we're going to be on a cruise for a small ship. What are you talking about?
Well,
I love cruising, and I've done the big ships many times, but I've never been on a small one. And I am so excited.
I can even for people who might ordinarily say that they don't like cruising, and believe me, I had 16 people last year with me, and several of them were not cruisers at all. This is not your typical cruise. It is just a small wooden boat with, don't get me wrong, luxurious accommodations. Air conditioning, the whole 9 yards, a beautiful little dining room, an outside deck, an upstairs sun deck. We did yoga on the deck in the mornings. It's a great spot to have a positivity training session. It is just so beautiful. And you really bond with the other travelers. I met 3 little old ladies from England, and we played cards every night. We had a captain's dinner where we had a dance party. We had everybody up dancing to Bruno Mars. And let me tell you, it's completely different from being on a big ship. It's an intimate experience, and you can go in places. We are in tiny fishing villages. Some of the bigger cruise ships come into Dubrovnik, and and Split as well. You will notice the difference when you're in those towns and the cruise ship people are in. When you go to the smaller fishing ports, I mean, we're talking, you step off and it's like going back in time to a tiny fishing village. Croatia has a rich maritime heritage where these people are brought up on the sea. The captain of our boat last year was training his apprentice, who's now got his own boat this year, and he's 23 years old, and he's already captaining his own ship. So that's how it is in Croatia. It's just it's so natural to be on the water there on this small ship with a very sweet crew that's happy to do anything to make your trip enjoyable. You've got your own bartender, you've got your own cook, and you've got your own guys who will just, you want to take a little dinghy into a private beach, just ask them.
Oh, that's fabulous. I am looking forward to it myself. I have had a few people ask me questions regarding the walks that you have mentioned, like a 2 or 3 hour walk, and their ability as far as if they have an injury, is there something else that they'll be able to do, or is it at your own pace? What kind of level of physical fitness do you think people need for the trip?
Well, really, the longest walk that we will be doing is in the waterfall park in Plitvice, and that's entirely optional. I mean, you don't have to walk along that. There are a few stairs, so it's not necessarily designed for somebody in a wheelchair.
Okay.
But we had a traveler in her 80s who was able to navigate everything just fine. It was an absolutely level walk along the waterfalls. You did have to go down steps to get down to them, but we never took steps back up. I don't know how that worked exactly.
It's magical.
It was magic. We took a train, and then we took a boat, and then we were out. But most of our historical walks in the city center are exactly that. They're just walks. And they're, there's a few hills, but there's nothing. It's really a very low level of physical fitness required for this trip. And I say amen.
I'm with you on that as well. If you
want to do something more acrobatic or more athletic, we'll find you something. Don't worry.
I'm looking forward to all of it. And I know that this is a hard question for you because I tried to get you to answer it several times. But what would you say is your favorite part of your trip there? Or even maybe your top 3 favorite things? I know you loved it all, but what were maybe 2 or 3 of your favorite things?
Well, that is a hard question,
I
Karen.
know it is. I'm sorry.
It's all right. For me, number one, whenever I travel, whatever trip I'm on, whether it's by myself or with a group, it's always the meeting new people. It's always the opening my heart to people that are different from me, trying to understand other people's ways of thinking. And that for me is always my favorite part. And this style of trip makes it so easy because of the intimacy of the boat and the sharing of the magical experiences and the beautiful surroundings. It just naturally leads to openness and opening your heart and meeting new people. So that for me is always the favorite part of any trip. If I have to say specifically Croatia, then it gets difficult. There's music everywhere. The history, the food. I could eat homemade macaroni for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They roll this up by hand.
That's amazing. And as far as, I mean, you and I are both extroverts, and meeting people is also a favorite thing of mine. But you can be introverted and still enjoy this trip. It's not like you have to go out there and meet new people. I mean, you're going to meet the people that are on our trip with us for sure, but it's whatever makes you most comfortable. Like if you're just going out and kind of staying to yourself and not meeting the locals, it's not a requirement to be like Loretta and myself.
It's not a requirement, no, certainly. But the nice thing is that when you go on a trip like this, and you do get out of your comfort zone a little bit, but you'll be with you're in a group. So you've got the safety of a group.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you're traveling with ready-made friends. So it's not like you have to go off and, try to communicate with a local, which is the thing that I like to do. But, not everybody wants to go try and figure out how to speak a foreign language to a local.
Right.
I love it. You're going to be with a ready-made group of friends. So it's so easy and natural just to form bonds with people. And that's what everybody on my trip, we have travelers on my trips that I've been doing up till now. Some of them have been on 2 trips, some of them 3, some of them 4. Some of them have made friendships that they've carried on, and we've had several reunions down here in Key West of trip alumni. So it's not something that, the trip is over, the friendship's over, as you know from our trip.
Yeah.
When we're still friends now, 7 years later. 8 years later, 7 years later.
Don't make me do math.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, it's not like these friendships are just like, okay, you see somebody for 10 days and then they're gone. Traveling brings people together. And that's a beautiful thing.
I've been to Key West to visit you a couple of times. So when Chicago is in its January, February, March weather,
exactly.
I'm like, time to go visit Loretta. So
come on down.
Excellent. So how do you say free hugs over there in Croatia, in Croatian?
I've got to learn how to say that, Carol. I like to write it on the back of my posters.
Yes.
On my posters, I have free hugs written in several different languages, just in case people don't speak English.
Right.
But I will tell you that everyone in Croatia speaks English.
Aha.
Not everyone, but a vast majority of them do, because it's taught in school and they have a touristic economy. So they do speak English. And I did learn quite a bit of Croatian last year. One of my favorite things that they say a lot, which I learned the very first day, it's ne brini. Ne brini.
Okay, and what does that mean?
It means don't worry.
I like it. Ne
brini. Ne brini. Whenever they're a very laid back people that have kind of this whole island vibe going on, and it's ne brini. I say, oh, I need this for ne brini. It's going to get done. And it did.
Excellent. I love that. And I just wanted to also add, as far as, the hugs part. I mean, ever since I started doing free hugs just here in Chicago and then made it global, I have met some incredible people. Like where Loretta offers her free hugs, it's a very touristy area, so she meets people from all over the world. And where I do it in Chicago is a hub for shoppers in Chicago, but as well touristy people. So I'm always meeting these new people and kind of experiencing different places of the world right here in Chicago. So it really is important to me to be able to extend hugs into wherever I go. And I know with Loretta, I've told her eventually on future trips, even if we go to a refugee camp or find a local volunteer organization that we could spend a couple hours doing some type of service within that community, is things that we'd like to do in the future as well. So
absolutely.
yeah.
I think now more than ever is the time for people to come together and for people to go out into the world as Americans. And it doesn't matter what your political affiliation is. It's about unity. It's about loving kindness and compassion for one another. And I think now more than ever, we should go out as a representative of America and say, this is who we are. We are a loving, positive, kind people. And here we are. And now you know.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up, Loretta, because not only are, I think, just in general, out of 7 billion people, the vast majority are loving and kind people. Now, we are coming from the States over to Croatia. But if you're already in Europe, you can certainly join us there. You don't have to fly from Chicago or Key West to be part of this trip. So it really is open to anybody. But we're hoping to let people in Europe and in Croatia know that Americans are nice and kind people, because sometimes it does not look that way right now. So
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to leave our visitors out from other countries. Yes, of course you're welcome. Of course, come on. It's been my experience so far. Most of my trips I've had mostly Americans, although this one coming up, I've got some folks from other countries who are meeting up with me. So please, come on, you are welcome, wherever you're from.
Exactly. As long as you have an open heart and an open mind, we're willing to have you on the trip. Or if you have a mind and heart that are willing to be open, you can come on the trip as well. So
we'll open them.
We will. If you hang out with Loretta and myself for 10 days, I promise you it will be open.
And Carol, I know that we were extending an early booking discount to your clients, and this is really the first chance we've had a chance, you and I, to get together to talk so that they could meet me and listen to you and hear what our trip was about. So if you're okay with it, I'd like to extend our early booking bonus out until, say, the end of this month, maybe March 1st, to give the people a chance if maybe they were on the fence or maybe they couldn't decide whether they wanted to join us or not. Maybe that would encourage them. So after seeing this video and they decide they want to come, why don't we do that?
Okay, that sounds great. So
all right.
The early bird was $100 savings in the booking, as well as a 1 hour positivity coaching session with me. So
which is priceless.
Which is priceless for sure. And so it's whatever you want to talk to about with me for an hour on, whether it's your career, finances, romantic relationships in general. My job here is to help heighten celebrations and lessen sorrows through a positive focus in positivity training. So Loretta, I cannot wait for September. I hope I make it to Key West or wherever you are before then, but I'm looking forward to being able to squeeze you in person soon.
I do want to say one more thing, because I realize now that, obviously your people haven't traveled with me before. I just want to let them know.
My people haven't traveled with me before either. So
well, but soon they're going to be our people and they'll be traveling with us. So I do want to let them know that when you come on a trip with me, everything is taken care of. If you look at the price of our trip, the things that aren't included are your airfare from the United States, items of a personal nature, and a few meals. But when I put together an itinerary, which is something that I learned when I was on the cruise with you, Carol, the Tuck cruise, I learned that I want to have all my needs taken care of as far as taxes, tipping, transportation, additional excursions. Everything is included. Everything. When you look at the trip, you're not going to have to reach into your pocket unless you want to buy souvenirs or for several dinners. There's obviously we don't include every dinner, because when you're in a beautiful Mediterranean port, sometimes we want to give you the opportunity to go off on your own and have dinner with maybe your significant other or, a new friend. But everything else is included, which I think is important to mention, because you'll be met at the airport by me, and I will be there with you throughout the whole trip for anything that you need. It's like having a friend travel with you that, is willing to take care of you. So I just wanted to let people know.
A friend travel with you, but also an experienced friend who this is not your first trip of taking people anywhere. So that should ease minds too, to know that they're in good hands.
It's nice to know that when you get off the plane at the airport, there's going to be a friendly face there saying, hey, how about a hug?
And that's exactly, everybody look right now, that will be the face that you see when you get off the plane. Whether you're tired from jet lag or not, she will greet you with a happy smile and a hug.
And that's it. And then I'll get you to where you have to go and you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
So. Well, Carol, thank you so much for inviting me to speak to your followers. And I love you and your energy. And I think that the positivity coaching session with you is worth the price of admission, even if you didn't go. But I hope that everybody will see this video, will take a look at the itinerary and join us. Croatia is a beautiful, magical place. And their slogan there is Croatia full of life. And I have to agree, that slogan goes so well with that country too. And I'm happy that we can bring our life over there too, and just embrace the world. Start embracing the world.
Yeah. Yes. Let us all start embracing the world. So remember, it is a small group of people that is going, because we're going in a small ship, so we can get into those ports. And you're going to have a new group of friends that you most likely will stay in touch with after you leave the cruise, and you certainly will stay in touch with this one here, Loretta. I suspect I will hear of many of you visiting her in Key West or wherever she is in the world thereafter. So I will post the link to more information about the trip, and if you have any questions, just post them in comments, and Loretta and I will get back to you. And we look forward to seeing you in Croatia in a few months. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you so much, Loretta. I love you dearly.
My pleasure, Carol. I love you too. Mwah.